We've got exciting things coming up. We're going to be talking to a professional marketer who's going to help us, and he's a columnist with the Florida Trend magazine, which is pretty cool. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is Ron Stein. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, Ron, and you and I have never met.
That's correct, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, but I very an active reader on the Florida Trend magazine, and saw an article that you did, and I said I've got to have Ron on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ron.
Well, thank you. Well, I work with small businesses. I help them, what I like to call, get unstuck. What I do is I translate the art of sales and marketing. A lot of people are intimidated by that, but I translate that into practical strategies and tactics that drive revenue. I mean, that's my whole focus. How does a company, small or large, make money?
Well, you're being humble here, or modest, because I'm looking at some of the things you've done. I've got some information from the website. You're the president of Fast Path Marketing, and you have been in the Tampa area, but you're a columnist for Florida Trend Business Magazine. You've been a guest lecturer at University of Florida's Warrington College of Business Administration. But you've had leadership roles that included CEO, Vice President, Senior Vice President, Director of Corporate Marketing, Regional Sales Director, Motorola, Video Server, Paradigm Networks. I mean, this is big time. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain, and for our listeners, and again, just so that you know, our radio show mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. Our listeners are real estate agents, investors, banking officials, government officials, bankruptcy attorneys, the media, and the general public. And everybody needs help in marketing.
Well, that's exactly right. In fact, I work with several real estate companies, both small and large. Among other types of clients, I work in all kinds of fields, from high-tech to professional services. But the one thing they all have in common is catching the attention of their market. First understanding who their market is and what drives them emotionally and otherwise, and then, well, how do I catch their attention? I mean, in today's world, you've got a lot of companies out there that claim they do the same thing your listeners do, and they'll always claim they do it better, but that's not necessarily true. So it's confusing for that person who's sitting across the table from you, either literally or not so literally, because it's a web or it's an email. And what do you say, to catch their attention and go, aha, you're different. I need to continue to listen. Because the truth of the matter is, that person really doesn't care about you. They only care about their own problems and how to solve them.
Well, it's very interesting, because I believe we're in a place now that we are just inundated with all kinds of information, and you almost have to tune some of it out to go crazy. I mean, it's the TV, it's the internet, it's the radio, it's people talking to you, it's things that you've got to do, it's the newspaper, it's the magazines. There's so much information that's being thrown at you all the time. You've really got to focus, and if you're trying to sell something, you've really got to grab them by the shirt and say, "Hey, this can provide benefits for you." So,
Doug, that is so right, and that's a big mistake people make, is they figure, well, if I'm going to catch the attention by telling that person, my prospect, how great I am, and that will come, but at first you hit it on the head. You've got to talk to what's important to your prospect. And yes, say, something that's important to them and unique to you, but you don't necessarily say, oh, and by the way, that's unique to me. But that's what you have to make those two things match. And of course, it's got to be something you can defend as you start talking about your uniqueness. And it should be obvious that you've got the passion and the competency for the area you're talking about. And that's how you position yourself. In fact, you can write a great positioning statement that explains who should use it, because that's your target market. I mean, we all like to believe, whatever field we're in, real estate or otherwise, that, hey, everyone should be an investor, everyone should do an auction.
Right,
that's not necessarily true. And
true.
You've got to target your message.
Well, you really do, and I appreciate that. Tell us more about your background. I gave you, the quick bio, but you've been a leader in the sales industry for a while, and really had top key positions. What do you look for? Because I know you've been in a place where you hire people. And it's your job to find somebody that either has the talent, or you can mold them into having the talent, because sales is not easy. What are some of the attributes for somebody that you might consider hiring?
Well, you always worry about, not so much is this person competent, can they do it, but sales is tough. I mean,
right.
Marketing and sales is a field where you get rejected a lot of times.
Yes.
Where your message isn't heard, and you need resilient people. You need people who have a fire in their belly and really believe in what you're doing, and then, of course, what they're doing to help you and the company make money. That doesn't mean an over-the-top, in-your-face type of person.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to see someone that has the passion and, of course, the intelligence, and depending on what you're doing, a little experience and background. But the experience doesn't necessarily have to be in your field. Just look to make sure it's transferable skill sets.
A good point. Very good point. And, I was going to ask you about that, but you already kind of mentioned it. You don't need to be type A to do it, but you do need to be able to communicate. And
absolutely.
And I know you've done stories on that, and again, you have a great column in the Florida Trend business magazine. But how important is to keep these relationships? Because it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, people are moving, they're going. Their numbers are changing, their email addresses are changing. But these are people that have showed interest in your product and your service before. How do you do that to maintain those relationships? And because if you don't, you're going to lose out.
Well, one of the people, your prospects fall into two basic categories. If there's interest, but they haven't purchased yet, or you've been lucky enough, you've been skillful enough to turn them into from a prospect to a customer.
Right.
Either way, you need to retain that person. You need a keep in touch strategy. And you can't jump ahead of yourself. It starts with real conversations with that person, education. Show them that you've got the expertise, even if they're not willing or ready to do business with you today. Stay in touch. Send them articles. Don't make it about me. It's
right.
about them.
Right.
If you know who they are, you know they can use some education, and especially in an area like auctioning and high stakes real estate that your listeners tend to be involved in. I mean, the average person gets their heads kind of start spinning. So education. And I market by education. I think that's such an important skill set. Content marketing is so important today, whether that's through a newsletter, whether it's mailed or online newsletter, an occasional phone call. And you've got to be constantly judging, if this person is ready, not ready. And if you're doing something online like a newsletter, you keep them on. They will remove themselves if they're no longer interested.
Right.
However, if you're sending them good information, and once they become customers, don't ignore them. They still need education. They still need hand-holding. They still need to be loved once in a while. It's all emotional, and don't let a potential competitor sneak in there because you ignored them. So you just got to stay. It's a stay-in-touch strategy.
Well, I've always thought that the people that you've done business with and thought you did a good job, these are such a source of new business. And, maybe some people are thinking, okay, I made a buck from him. I'm going to go on to the other 1,000 leads that I have. But if you've made a sale with a person, if it's in real estate, if you're a real estate agent or an auction firm or an auction agent, I mean, man, this is somebody to stay in touch with, because isn't it cool to have somebody that's already done business with you say to one of their friends, hey, you should really use Ron because he did a good job with that. That's worth so much money, and you can do a sale to that person so much easier than cold calling somebody else.
Doug, you nailed it. Your readers might be interested in a column I wrote, maybe only a month or 6 weeks ago on that particular subject, how to ask for testimonials and referrals. And some people are afraid to ask. Some people don't know how to ask, and it's really easy. But you're right. If you get both, and those two things aren't necessarily the same, a testimonial and a referral, but they're very closely related, and people should be constantly trying to get both.
Well, you need to email that to me, because I believe in that so much. And also, you need to give me your contact information right now, just so we don't forget. How can people get a hold of you or find these columns and that particular column that you did that is very, very important to salespeople?
Well, first of all, my phone number is 727-398-1855. My website is www.marketing-strategies-guide.com. And by the way, the reason the dashes are there is a little SEO trick, but we won't get into that now, to help the search engines find me.
Oh, really?
So even though the name of my company is Fast Path Marketing, people aren't going to be searching for fastpathmarketing.com because, well, they don't know me. But they will be searching for marketing strategies and guides to how to market better. Hence the name of my website, marketing-strategies-guide.com. And the dashes actually help the search engines a little bit to see those words. Anyway, if you go to my website, on the right-hand column, you'll see a link to Florida Trend Magazine. And that link will take you to the archive of my articles, and you'll be able to see my columns there. Also, I have a lot of information on my website. I have a lot of articles there as well, and to try to help people with their marketing and sales.
Well, that's wonderful. Let's get back into the education part of providing value added, to provide information to that potential client or that past client so that they can stay in touch with you. I had a friend when I lived up in New England. He sold hospital pharmaceuticals, and then went into hospital equipment. And I said, and he called on doctors all the time. And I said, how do you get a hold of doctors, and how do you spend time with doctors? Because they're so busy. I mean, I try to get a doctor's appointment, and I sit in a waiting room for, an hour. And he said, it's all about the information that you're providing. You're not really selling. They are so busy that they need you to provide them with information that can be beneficial to them. And I thought, this is 30 years ago, and I still remember it.
Well, and it's still true today, especially as you pointed out earlier, Doug, with all the noise out there,
yes.
The confusing messages. The truth is you can generate leads with value and education, and you can keep existing clients on board with, by constantly providing value. And a lot of that value comes through education, although that's not the only way to provide value. But you're right. You first of all, they appreciate it. They remember it. But it also separates you, because
yes.
it makes you more of an expert, and people want to deal with their experts.
You are exactly right. I always remember the definition of an expert is somebody that got off an airplane with a briefcase. In my line of business, anyway. But value added in regards to education is so important. Listen, Ron, I'm going to want to have you on again another time because fascinating stuff for my listeners. Tell us how we can get a hold of you one more time, Ron.
Okay. Well, again, my phone number is 727-398-1855, or you can email me at ron@fastpathmarketing.com, fast as in fastpathmarketing.com. I do one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of workshops, both public and private, for companies and their marketing executives and sales executives. And I do whatever I can to help companies really fast forward their revenue success.
Ron, thank you so much for calling in. We're going to have you on the show again, and I'm very happy to meet you over this phone line in this radio show.
Well, thanks, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity, and come on over to the Tampa Bay area when you have a chance, and we'll have a beer together.
Sounds good. Hey, take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Ron Stein, president of Fast Path Marketing and columnist for Florida Trend Magazine. Let's go for a quick break.